Well, hello everybody and welcome to Chef's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to make a savoury dish for dinner, Osso Buco, which is veal shanks or beef shanks which are cooked in a rich sauce basically, and very tasty. And I'm going to base mine quite closely on a recipe from Julia Child in a book called The French Chef. Now I'm not going to follow it completely because I'm changing the order of doing things, and that's mainly because she requires you to do things in different pans, and I'm going to do almost everything in one pan just to save on the washing up. She probably had somebody doing it for her, but I have to do it myself. So it's a very nice dish, and when you see it, I'm not going to be eating it all. Half of it's going round to my niece and her husband for their dinner, and I'm serving this with Parmesan potato stacks, and I'm making another video at the same time to show you how to do that if you want to do those as well. So for the Osso Buco, I'll go on to the ingredients, and for this I have 4 veal shanks or beef shanks, and that's these here. 2 are thicker than others, but that would be fine. 4 of those. Then I have 100 grams, which is about 3/4 of a cup, of carrots which I've peeled and chopped lengthways and then chopped in half. I have the zest from 1 orange and the zest from 1 lemon, which I have peeled off, and I've cut into julienne strips. I have 4 tomatoes which weighed about 450 grams. And we're going to peel those basically and just use the flesh, not the juice or the seeds. I have 150 grams, which is about a cup of chopped onion, 60 millilitres, 1/4 of a cup of olive oil, 2 garlic cloves which I have crushed, a teaspoon of fresh basil which I have chopped up. I have 240 millilitres, 1 cup of dry vermouth, but you could use white wine if you don't have vermouth, or you could use sherry as well, I suppose, something like that if you wanted to. And I have 480 millilitres, 2 cups of stock. Now Julia's recipe calls for veal stock, but she does say you could use a combination of chicken and beef stock, and that's what I'm doing. 480 millilitres, 2 cups. Then I'm going to use some salt and pepper to taste, and I also have a large amount of flour to dredge the meat in. So the first thing I'm going to do is to prepare my tomatoes, and for that they need to go into a pan of boiling water for 10 seconds. So I won't show you that, but I'll put them in for 10 seconds, take them out, and then we'll peel them. So I've had those in boiling water for 10 seconds, and I'm going to cut out the core. I'm actually going to they're just hot on the outside. They're not going to be hot all the way through, obviously. And then I should be able to peel the skin off. As you can see, it's coming off reasonably well. And with the skin cut off, I'm going to cut the tomatoes in half, and I'm going to scoop out and squeeze to get the seeds and the juice out, like that. So there's my tomatoes now. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to roughly chop those. Now, if you don't want to do this, you could always use, I guess, a can of chopped tomatoes, but drain the juice off. And I'm not going to worry if there's the occasional seed still visible. So there's the chopped tomatoes, and I'm going to set those to one side, and I've picked out more seeds as I see them, but a few isn't going to make any difference, I don't think. So then the next thing I want to do is to drop this julienne zest into boiling water, and I want to boil it for 5 minutes. That's going to take away the bitterness from the zest. And once it's boiled for 5 minutes, I'm going to drain the water off and pat the zest dry, and then set that to one side. So I'll do that and then show you once I've done it. So there's the zest, and then so the next thing we need to do is to start cooking. And at this stage I can preheat my oven to 160 degrees Celsius, that's 320 Fahrenheit. That would be ready to cook the Osso Buco when we've assembled everything. So I'll preheat the oven, and we'll go on and fry off the carrots and the onions. So I'm going to put the carrots and the onions in about 2 tablespoons of my olive oil. And I'll just give them a stir around. And I'm going to cover those and cook them for about 5 minutes, checking from time to time to make sure that they're not burning or anything like that. And with that carrot and onion cooking off in the pot, I'm going to take my flour and I'm going to dredge each of the shanks in the flour. I'm going to get a plate to put those on and shake off the excess. And I'll put that to one side. So I've fried off my carrots and onions, and I've just taken those out of the pan. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sear my meat, and I want to sear it on all sides, and it should take 5 or 6 minutes. And I'm using the rest of my oil, and I will add more oil if I need to. So I'm going to do 2 at a time, and then I'll take them out and put them back on the plate for the time being. So I'm going to sear the sides as well as best as I can. So that's the meat completely browned. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in my vermouth, and deglaze the pan basically. So that all the flavour comes up. And as that's happening, I'm going to put my carrots and onions back in. And that's looking quite good. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my tomatoes, my zest, the garlic and the basil, and stir that around. And I'm going to put my meat back in. Like that. And then I'm going to pour in my stock. Like that, and I'm going to bring that up to a simmer now. And with that simmering like that, I'm going to put it into the oven, covered, like that. I'm going to cook it in the oven for 1 hour and 15 minutes. And then after 1 hour and 15 minutes, I'm going to take it out of the oven and remove the meat and put the pan back onto the stove with the lid off and reduce the sauce until I've got about 2 cups of sauce left, including the sort of vegetables and such like. So I will be back with you once I've taken this out of the oven. So I reduced my sauce just a little bit, and I've now put one of the shanks on a small plate with some of the sauce, and this is what it looks like, and this is what I'm going to be eating with my potatoes for my dinner. And I have to say it's very, very tender because I've already pulled a piece off, so I'll have a taste of it. Very nice indeed. The meat is very, very tender, and it has the marrow in the middle of the bone that you can also eat, of course. And the sauce is nice and sweet from that dry vermouth, or dry vermouth, and the stock. So it takes a bit of time, and it's quite an expensive meal to make because the beef shank or the veal shank is not necessarily a cheap cut of meat. But once in a while it's worthwhile. So that's going to be it for this recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up below and click to subscribe to my YouTube channel. In the top right hand corner of the screen there will be an eye that you can click on, and that will take you to a link for the recipe, and I'll put a link in the video as well, and I'll be back with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.